Hello SGD, Sacred Geometry Decoded, and let's carry on with this series in regarding connections to the number 33. And I want to have a look at this famous sculptor, Anish Kapoor. And so previous episodes, we looked into the number 33, the symbolic aspects, the use of 33 feet. And in videos going back a while, I looked at specific architects and specific artists who got the prime commissions. The really important buildings, the really important sculptures in the really important places. And Anish Kapoor is one of these people. So, what's going on here? So this is Cloudgate in Chicago, also known as the Beam in Millennial Park. The City Beautiful movement started by Daniel Burnham, which was so important in the redesign of places such as San Francisco, Indianapolis, Washington D.C., the Washington Mall. Daniel Burnham was behind the redesign of Colonial Williamsburg, which turned out to be funded by the Rockefellers. And so there are the City Beautiful movement and these connections, architectural, the town planning, and well, okay, let's just keep going. This is one of Anish Kapoor's sculptures. It's called Sky Mirror. This is in Melbourne, Australia, and the important part is that the sculptures of Anish Kapoor move around the world. So this is about 23 ton. This is one of the versions of Sky Mirror, and it's here in Australia. It moves around along with his other ones. So this is the Palace of Versailles. This is called Dirty Corner by Anish Kapoor. We also see one of his versions of Sky Mirror also there on display. So to get these that's 70 meters long, or just happens to be 153 cubits long, but that's none of my business for the moment. These have been moved around. These are massive. These are heavy. A lot of money goes into just moving these things around, and then to get them placed in and displayed in Versailles. For instance, I've done videos before: Canberra, Brasilia, Washington, Astana, just like the City of London and Versailles or the Vatican. These very geometric, symbolic places with not only the legal status, the architecture and the town plans, all filled. They're of the same pattern. It just carries on. So Mr. Anish Kapoor just happens to get his sculptures in the right place, at exactly the right place, at huge expense. So, like, even if I could fund it, I can't just drop my massive sculpture in Versailles. This is a historic location, but Mr. Anish Kapoor, he sort of gets them all the right places. And, well, what's going on here? So there we see what's called Dirty Corner by Anish Kapoor on display at Versailles. Now, just behind the cameraman would be one of his sky mirrors, as they're called. So what's going on? Well, we need to look back. So House of a Temple, headquarters of 33rd degree masonry in Washington, 33 columns, 33 feet high. Now this will come later, but let's just stick with 33. This is a Scottish Rite Cathedral in Indianapolis. I mentioned it's one of these places which has been touched by the City Beautiful movement. The arrangement of a city, the measurements, the height of the memorials, the height of the major buildings, the monuments, the state capitol, all connected, always on these harmonic numbers. Bespoke architecture, it's not off the shelf. Highly designed, highly architectural, unique buildings, and yet they happen to choose the specific set of numbers. For instance, it's 330 feet long. Go back again, this important: 33 columns, 33 feet high, ionic, worth remembering as well. And inside the tiler's room, it's a cube with an edge of 33 feet inside the Scottish Rite Cathedral in Indianapolis, which brings us to the auditorium. Now, the dance hall is 66 feet, while the tiles on the dance floor are 33 inches, which just happens to be a Californian Vara, but that's none of my business. But anyway, the arena there is a square of 33 feet. The stage is 82 feet wide, which will convert to lovely connections, but anyway, 33 feet deep on the stage. This is a very important repeated number. Even in the literature, it's it's not really a secret at all. But now here's an interesting little side note. The auditorium. So this is the arena, 33 feet wide, 33 feet deep. It's a square of 33 feet. The whole auditorium itself, from the back to the front, is 175 feet long. This is back to the American Civil War, the USS Baron de Kalb. Exact pronunciation, I'm not sure. Focus in, what's going on there? Well, compass and square. It just happens to be 175 feet long. I'm bringing this up because this is an example where it's not just about 33 feet or 108 feet. These buildings which I'm mentioning here have multiple sets of measurement. There is no coincidence. These are designed highly architectural buildings or structures, because it's not just about the buildings, cathedrals, temples, street plans. It also applies to, as earlier episodes, the Saturn V rockets and this is the military industrial complex. Let's just say they love and they incorporate these numbers, not just now because it goes back quite some time. So it's not just 33 feet. That could be described as an accident, but we see multiple sets. And why 175 feet? Well, 175 feet is 27.34375 Doric fathom. Doric and Ionic systems, ancient systems of measurement, also architectural styles, which we see on the Freemason boards as well. So the Ionic column and the Doric column. The column of wisdom, the male, or the Doric is the column. Column of wisdom is Ionic, female. Doric is the column of strength, or male. 27.34375, and could be coincidence. Well, avoirdupois, 1 dram is 27.34375 grains, and Georgia Guidestones, 19.25 feet or 0.2734375 Doric chain, Doric fathom, Doric chain, and Thoth, Chesed, Hermes Trismegistus, Nuar and Fuzi, cross time, cross cultures, cross the world, gods of science, geometry, the quadrivium, also gods of weights and measures, who are connected to the compass and the square. This is not restricted to the Western, more modern Masonic tradition. This is very, very ancient systems of weight and measure. So Anish Kapoor, what's going on here? Why do I bring him up? Well, dirty corner here in Versailles. Now, one of his other sculptures is Orbit and ArcelorMittal, which is a huge industrial steel making company. So where is he gets his sculptures placed in these major public places, moved around the world, massive, large steel heavy sculptures, most of the time public funding to support him. But this is Orbit next to the London Olympic Stadium. Well, it just happens to be 377 feet high. Reims Cathedral, again, all the connections, well, anyway, the nave itself, 377 feet long. Of course, that's a coincidence because Chartres Cathedral, one of the holy of holies of sacred architecture, the quadrivium, literally built into the sculpture itself over the southern, or could be the northern portal. But anyway, we have the Vesica and we have Euclid and Pythagoras amongst others, as well as the 7 liberal arts, the quadrivium, inside the main archway. And it is 377 feet high, which is a Fibonacci number. Now, for instance, same sets, all the same stuff's going on here. And so Eiffel Tower, who was that by? Mason architect. Second level, 377 feet. The first level, again, corresponds to these lovely sets of harmonic, architectural, astronomical, arithmetic, geometry, music, sets of numbers, ancient units of measure being also an important conversion point. George Washington Bridge, anything with George Washington's name on it, no surprise there. The towers themselves, 377 feet. So many other aspects. I've done this in other separate videos. Frederick Bartholdi, well, he's one of the brothers, and there are 377 steps from the lobby to the crown. This is a constant in this very important esoteric architecture, both ancient, which you might explain, or pre-industrial, where maybe more superstitious, but even it's still people such as Anish Kapoor are still incorporating it. Temple of Artemis, anyway, a reconstruction, but by the old descriptions, 377 feet long, because the foundation of a Temple of Artemis is still there, so that can be measured and tested. Now, I mentioned earlier the civil warship. Well, it's still happening to this day in modern ships, in the space, in NASA and others, because, for instance, these nuclear submarines, 377 feet long. The submarine itself, 33 feet wide, but it's actually 34 feet because you need to include the rubber insulation on the outside. 34 and 377 just both happen to be Fibonacci numbers. Oh, interesting that, isn't it? The Washington Monument should be aligned, and there are various descriptions of why it wasn't placed here where it should be. On the alignment, they said because the soil was not strong enough to support it. Well, there's a lot going on in the Washington Monument, and it just happens to be 377 feet off alignment, amongst other aspects what's going on there as well, because reasons it's the current year. It's all coincidence. Nothing going on here, even though you can measure it. Now, let's have a look. This is by Anish Kapoor. Now, underneath it's even called an omphalos. The measurements is all there, all the harmonics, but let's just focus on that now. It's 66 feet wide and 33 feet high. The Dirty Corner I mentioned by Anish Kapoor, currently or at the time was on display in Versailles. Now, you try and go to a historic site and do something like this. You're going to need a team of lawyers. You're going to need big, even with big bucks. You're going to have a big hard time trying to get this put in place. But yet, Mr. Anish Kapoor happens to get his structures and sculptures moved around the world, dropped in the right places, including Sky Mirror. But anyway, Dirty Corner, it came to be known as the Queen's Vajayjay. Anyway, so got a bit of a nasty yeast infection going on there. But anyway, it's 33 feet high. Interesting. Now, if you look up, this is one of the problems with this whole area. People don't take measurements. They sort of just round things off. People don't know how to convert metric to... But Sky Mirror in 30 Rockefeller Plaza. Well, I've covered this in other videos. This is entirely it's all there. And you'll often see it referred to as 35 feet. Now, if you look multiple descriptions of it, 35 or 11 meters, 35 feet or 11 meters, that's about right. But sometimes 35 feet and 10 meters, no, that's not right, because 10 meters is 32.808 feet. But it's also described as 33 feet. There are different descriptions of it. But, well, based on all these other connections, for instance, this Dirty Corner here is 153 cubits long. Interesting. Or coincidence. S-Curve by Anish Kapoor. Oh, well, he just happens to get this big heavy sculpture placed in, again, on display in this really expensive location. To move these things is not easy. And, well, where's this cash coming from? Why are certain architects, certain sculptors getting prominent positions? Well, what's going on there? Measures approximately 33 feet long by 8 feet. Of course, that's just coincidence once again. I'm just lucky, I guess. Well, what is ancient is new again. They are always of the right height, of the right length, or the right width. They're always in the special places. The same architects, the same sculptors, the same themes, such as the omphalos, Millennium Park, and if you follow now, for instance, there Chicago, I mentioned Daniel Burnham, leader in the City Beautiful movement, redesigned Chicago, 66 feet wide streets with 12 foot or 144 inch sidewalks on either side. I'll do that separately because that's another thing that's going on. But 33, it just happens to be the same specific units, which are so intricately connected to this really important ancient systems described in ancient texts, repeated in the great cathedrals, ancient temples. It always comes back. It's always by the same people, and you've got your head in the sand if you think it's a coincidence, because it can be measured. Have a good one.